Rules, Resolutions, and Ethics will come to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Lukemeyer.
Here.
O'Laughlin. Here. Searpoy.
Here.
May.
Here.
Williams.
We have a quorum. The only bill to be considered today is House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2292. Representative Jones, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman Lichtmeyer and members of the committee. For the record, Holly Jones, representing the 88th District, westernmost portion of St. Louis County. I'm here today to present House Bill 2292. 2292 is the cross-reporting bill, if you aren't familiar. I will make this short and sweet, as I know everyone is busy and it's crunch time. So thank you for allowing me the time to present this. Before we dive into the bill, I want to provide you with a few statistics. 75% of women who have companion animals report a history of their companion animal being threatened or abused by their intimate partner, with children being also present and witnessing said violence over 90% of the time. Other studies have shown that over half of all children are exposed to animal abuse in their childhood years. I share all of this to say that there is a direct correlation between child and elderly abuse and companion animal abuse. In this bill, we're asking agencies involved in reporting child abuse to also be trained and cross-report for animal abuse as well, and vice versa when applicable. Essentially, we're asking folks that are already in place to work together, not creating new systems or new departments, but work together in what we already have. As we know, it costs the state a lot of money to put in place a new department. We're not doing that. We're utilizing the resources that we already have in place. Cross-reporting laws are being implemented across the country to enable those in other fields of expertise to recognize abuse and report on them effectively. In fact, 17 states have already implemented such legislation. I'm asking Missouri to do the same. We could go through the list, could take a few minutes, but I could go ahead and send that over to your offices if you're interested. But I'm asking Missouri to do the same and being able to cross-report on animal abuse in companion animal situations only. We have specified that in the definition of animal being only dog, cat, rabbit, and bird, as it's generally the dog or the cat beloved pet of someone already being abused. That is most oftentimes the animal being abused in that situation. Agricultural animals have been completely exempted from this. And I'll give you just a quick little testimony. As the chair of the Children and Families Committee in the House, I was hearing testimony on a completely unrelated bill. The woman had stated that her intimate partner killed her dog in front of her as a way to abuse her and control her. And it's something that she's never been able to get over. So I say this with the utmost sincerity that these things do happen. We've tried to work across the aisle and across all of the departments to come to a understanding and a compromise on what we could do to prevent these sort of things. And I'll open myself for any questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for the representative?
Yeah.
Senator May.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning. You're right. Good afternoon.
When I was reading this bill, I was like, this is the crazy. I kept having to go back and reread because I didn't understand. Now I get it when you were talking about, the companion animals and how they, help people and the abuse of those individuals and even having those animals. So it makes clarity because I'm telling you, reading it, I was like, okay, now I'm talking about abuse of elders. Then I say abuse of animals. I was getting confused. So thank you for the clarification. Now I understand what we're doing.
Thank you, Senator.
Here. Thank you.
Any further questions for the representative? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Can I get a show of hands how many witnesses in support we have? How many witnesses in opposition? Okay, 2 minutes for each person who comes up because we are going to be running up against session. So first witness in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Bob Baker. I'm representing the Missouri Alliance for Animal Legislation. And as a farmer animal cruelty investigator for over 30 years, I can attest to the link between animal abuse and child abuse. It just astounded me. As stressful as my job was investigating on a continuing basis the abuse and neglect of animals, I was literally no way emotionally prepared for some of the things I saw with children. Needless to say, it was a very traumatic experience for me. I assure you that this bill can make a difference for children, for the elderly, and for the animals. I was going to read off some examples, but in lieu of time, I would just emphasize that these are the following organizations that are supporting cross-reporting: the National Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, the National Sheriff's Association, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Missouri Animal Control Association. They all are supporting this. They all have seen this in their experience linking these crimes together. One of the things it does is it expedite cases. Some of the examples I'd like to give you at some point was the fact that they suspected child abuse, but they couldn't prove it. And it wasn't until I got involved and got someone to investigate the animal abuse that they added credibility to their case, and they were able to get those children out of harm's way in a timely manner. So I really urge you to pass this. It has overwhelming support. It passed the House committee unanimously. It passed the House floor on a 125-12 vote. There was a similar bill in the Senate, and it passed out of the Family and Senior Services Committee unanimously. And so the only really credible opposition we have right now is time, and because I know the session's ending soon. So I really encourage you to pass this out today, and so give us an opportunity to amend it onto another bill or somehow get it passed this year.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we'll do a witness in opposition.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Karen Strange, President of Missouri Federation of Animal Owners. I want to go on record saying we do not support animal abuse. We do feel this bill goes a little far in bringing in the not-for-profit organizations, the animal humane investigators. Sometimes they have different agendas than we do as animal owners and enthusiasts. We don't want to see anything taken advantage of. And one thing that we have seen in other states, one state being Massachusetts, is with a bill enacted like this, it actually caused some problems for, say, some of the elderly people who were afraid to let any of the social services or any people into their homes to help them because they were afraid their animals would be confiscated. And so there are several issues like that that we have concerns with. We have no problem with animal abuse being reported to law enforcement and being addressed because we do not support that abuse. I'll be glad to answer any questions, sir.
Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in support?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Richard McIntosh. I'm here on behalf of the Animal Legal Defense Fund. My son is a prosecutor. He handles both animal abuse cases and domestic. There's 100% correlation in all the cases he has between violence and between both parties. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Also, I'd bring to your attention in the bill a provision against false reporting of animal abuse, and then also a provision of intentionally starving an animal. It takes 30 days to starve a dog. You don't do it by accident. That's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. McIntosh? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in opposition?
Good afternoon. Tony Duggar, registered lobbyist for the Missouri Pet Breeders Association and the Sporting Dogs Association of Missouri. We want to go on record in opposition of this bill today. Just some things that would help us with this bill, since I know you're probably going to vote this out. There was a lot of talk about companion animals, pets. We would be great if you would add to your definition of animal that it applies to companion animals and pets. I'm concerned about my commercial breeders who are not in the home or around the home. I have some very professional people that raise puppies for kids to enjoy, and we're concerned about how this bill might affect them. So another way that you could help is if you would exempt the commercial breeder from this bill. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Duggar?
Question.
Senator May.
So wouldn't the commercial breeder, they don't come in contact with, like, children or individuals who would get those animals, elderly?
Right,
people?
they don't live, the commercial breeders' dogs are all kept in a kennel outside the home. They are not in the home where the elderly would be or the children would be. And also my commercial breeders are inspected by the Missouri Department of Agriculture. They have very regulations that they have to follow and comply with.
Yeah, but they do sell directly to consumers, though.
They do.
Yeah, because
yes.
I buy them.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in support?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Cade Tremaine. I'm here today on behalf of the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services testifying in support of the bill. And before I get too far in, I also want to say I have Mr. Zach Jenkins with me here today. He is our lead investigations manager within the department in case there are any super specific, highly programmatic questions that I might not be able to answer for you all today. So, specifically testifying on page 3, section 192-2515, which is all about Missouri Department of Health's Special Investigations Office. So this office, since 2004, has covered various investigations revolving elder abuse specifically. They've responded to them. They've helped aid in the resolution with public safety, always working lockstep with them. So these cases require access to records, and they always require very strong coordination between law enforcement and us. So our investigators frequently rely on the law enforcement agencies to perform functions that could be handled directly if limited peace officer authority were to be granted, and the key word here is limited. So if this were to be granted, it would be specifically for subpoena and search warrant power. So that is always when necessary and at the will of public safety as well, because we've had a few questions about that on that specific portion of the bill. The employees within this team of special investigations, they all have public safety backgrounds. They have significant law enforcement experience, and we've worked very closely with the Department of Public Safety to ensure that they are on board and supportive of this as well. I'll be brief. I know there's a 2-minute limit here. So ultimately, the two reasons that we are in support of this bill is, first, it helps make sure that DHSS is doing what we can at its most for some of the most vulnerable people in the state, being the growing elderly population. And the second being that this will help strengthen our ongoing public safety relationships. So happy to answer questions.
Any questions for the department? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Further witnesses in opposition?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mark Figgenbaum with Missouri Farm Bureau. I want to begin by, this is a very sensitive topic, and we in no way condone animal abuse or abuse towards people. But we do have concerns with this bill. A lot of the folks who would be becoming mandatory reporters under this legislation already have a lot of work on their plate as is, and adding this responsibility may pull away from both their ability to do the tasks they're already carrying out, as well as difficulty in being able to be adequately trained to identify and report animal abuse. We don't believe that the time put together for this, the hour and a half over a course of 2 months or so, is quite enough to be able to adequately determine that. We also have issue with advocacy organizations creating this curriculum, which we may at time be at odds with in the agricultural space. And this could also incur a lot of costs at all levels of government with training these folks with these tasks from both a time and monetary perspective. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for the Farm Bureau? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in support?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Chris Skuman. I'm a registered lobbyist for the St. Louis County Police Association. I'm going to keep my testimony very brief, but we're in favor of this bill because the correlation between animal and child or elderly abuse is undeniable. The sooner we can get the different organizations communicating with one another, the easier it'll be for first responders to identify the abuse and hopefully stop it before it escalates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Organ Schlemeyer, very briefly on behalf of the Missouri Assisted Living Association, we would love for the Department of Health and Senior Services to sit down with us and also the Missouri Healthcare Association regarding the Elderly Abuse Investigation Unit. Giving the department subpoena power is a little bit much. What we would like to see actually is the department folks being better trained when they come into the facility. We would fully support that. We would fully support giving them more investigators within the Department of Health and Senior Services, but this investigation unit is a little bit much, a little broad, and we would like for them to call us over the interim, or we're happy to call them and sit down and work out something with them on this issue.
Questions for Mr. Schlemeyer? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in support?
Good afternoon. Zach Jenkins, Office of Special Investigations, here to testify in support of the bill. Specifically, the Office of Special Investigations has been around since 2004. This is not a new unit. We've been doing a lot of positive things in the law enforcement community when it comes to combating crimes against the elderly and disabled, partnering with law enforcement. Specifically, the enhancements to the Office of Special Investigations that this bill provides is the ability to obtain records. Obviously, we deal with victims that are elderly primarily, and about 65 to 70% of our caseload is white collar. Therefore, it's very document intensive, which is the necessity for subpoena authority in order to be able to obtain these records in a timely fashion so that we can address the issues and get justice for these elderly victims. Specifically, we work crimes also against persons. You may have seen here recently in Pulaski County where an in-home aide left the person that they care for or responsible for caring for on the floor for a month, resulting in severe wounds, and we were able to successfully get that individual charged. And so we respectfully request that this bill be forwarded on, and at the same time, I would like to say that we have also worked significant persons crimes in Southwest Missouri. We worked a cold case homicide in which a disabled young lady was unfortunately sexually assaulted and murdered. So any questions from the committee?
Any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Senator May.
So were you aware that the elderly abuse hotline for elders cuts off at 5 o'clock? That they don't have like if anything happens after 5 o'clock, there's no way to report it on elder abuse?
I do know that we have an online reporting system that's available 24 hours a day.
Online? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to have to get one of them AI people to answer the phones for us after 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Further witnesses in opposition?
Lisa Panett with Armorvine. Our objection is specifically to the cross-reporting in regards to having children taken from the home. Making the animal control officers mandated reporters is a bad idea. Opening up to further CPS investigations based upon so-called animal neglect, when a report in 2022 said that there were over 1,200 missing foster care children in our system. In 2024, there were just over a little bit of 12,000 in the Missouri foster care overall, meaning that Missouri Child Protective Services had about 10% unaccounted for. As far as we know, they could have been sex trafficked. In St. Louis County, the animal shelters had a series of complaints and lawsuits. A whistleblower was fired for exposing the abuse. And when you look at our statute 578.009, animal neglect is when a person doesn't provide adequate care, which is certainly subjective. And in concluding, we would just say that CPS needs to get their own house in order before sticking their nose into other parents' homes based upon potential pet neglect.
Any questions for Ms. Panett?
Yes, good question.
Senator May.
So what about the part about the animal workers identifying abused children?
Well,
That training.
Yeah, that's what we are concerned about, that it doesn't seem like they can even get a handle on abused pets and putting them in a safe environment, much less pulling out children based upon what they see as neglect and putting them in a system where we've lost, 1,200 kids.
I agree with you in reference to the system. I've had experience with them, but that's a failure of the state. But at the same time, I think everybody should be mandatory reporters when it comes to abuse of children. And one thing abusers use when it comes to children is animals. So.
Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further witnesses in support? Any further witnesses in support? Seeing none, any in support? No. Any further witnesses in opposition? Come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Barb York. I am with Missouri Animal Husbandry Association. And I have paper here that I will leave, but one of my things I want to tell you about is this bill basically was the same that passed in Massachusetts in 2018. Their population at that time was the same as ours in 2018. It cost them $8 million to train the people that must be trained with mandatory reporting. And the reason I say this is because everybody who follows the child protection and welfare system, as well as the elderly abuse and disabled system, make it mandatory for everybody who comes in contact with the child or the adult. And this includes your teachers, your hospitals, your nurses, your psychologists, your morgues, your first responders. It affects everybody, and that comes into a really big cost problem with what we have with our budget today. So with that, I will leave this, and I will answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further
Thank you.
witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, any witnesses for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that will conclude the hearing on House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2292. I would now make a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. We were in executive session. I'd now make a motion to bring before the committee House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2292. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. The ayes have it. The bill is before the committee.
So since the bill was before the committee,
Senator May, would you like to speak on the bill?
Need my microphone on. So, first of all, we got a Senate committee substitute that was just emailed out. And so I was wondering, were you going to go over those changes first? And I also was wondering, can we do I want to add something to it. Should we do it here or should we do it on the floor?
My preference is generally to do it on the floor. I mean, I know in the House they tend to do committee amendments. We don't do them as often over here. That way the full Senate has the benefit of being able to debate it.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. I think that would be my preference then. So is there any further discussion on the bill before I make the motion to adopt the Senate committee substitute? Seeing none, I would now make a motion to well, let me go through it actually really quick before I make that motion. So you also should have received it today. This is from Senator McCreery's office. Senator McCreery is going to be handling the House bill on the floor. Does a few things. It broadens, or actually shrinks, I guess, the title. It removes a couple of criminal offenses that were in there in the previous version of it, and then it adds the Department of Ag to the entities that are responsible with developing the training that is mandated by the new statutory sections. With that, is there any further discussion on the Senate committee sub? Seeing none, I would now make a motion to adopt Senate committee substitute for House committee substitute for House Bill 2292. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those contrary, no. You guys have it. You've adopted the Senate committee substitute. I would now make a motion to vote do pass Senate committee substitute for House committee substitute for House Bill 2292. Do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Lukemeyer. O'Laughlin. Searpoy. May.
Aye.
Williams.
By your vote of 5-0, you have voted do pass Senate committee substitute for House committee substitute for House Bill 2292. No further business coming before the body. I move that we exit executive session and stand adjourned. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.